So now in this signal and system lecture, we start with the new topic, that is the Laplace transform and jet transform. We do parallelly, although it is written in the syllabus, it is written in another different form, but we do parallelly. Actually, Laplace transform used for the continuous time signals and jet transform is used for discrete time signals. Right? That is the first thing. Now, second thing is where what is the origin to come across this Laplace and jet transform. So first we go to the finding the origin of the Laplace transform and jet transform. Origin is like this. Suppose we have a LTI system. We have a LTI system whose impulse response is given by h of t. H of t is its impulse response. And suppose my input x of t is given by e to the power st. Right? S is a complex variable here, and it is in the power of exponential, and t is the continuous time here, right? So this is the input. What is the output? From the convolution, we have just studied in the last lecture that yt is given by integral minus infinite to infinite x of tau h of t minus tau d tau. Or we can write it in commutative form of the convolution, that is minus infinity to infinity x of t minus tau h of tau d tau, right? Now after this, if I substitute the value of x of t equal to e to the power st in this, what I will get? I will get as minus infinite to infinite e to the power s t minus tau into h of tau d tau. I will get like this. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what will be this? It will be e to the power st into e to the power minus s tau. Now, e to the power st will be constant as far as this integration is concerned, because it is depending on s and t, right? So I'm taking that outside, e raised to power st outside, and the remaining integral I'm writing in this manner, h of tau e to the power minus s tau d tau, right? Now see, this function, this integral function minus infinite to infinite h of tau e to the power minus s tau d tau, on which variable does it depend? After calculating this, which variable will be present? It is nothing but h of s. It is a function of s only. Why s only? Because once we have integrated with respect to tau and taken the integration and substituting the values of tau from minus infinite to infinite, tau will be absent because it's taken the value from minus infinite to infinite. So only variable which is available to us is the s. So we are getting h of s. So concluding this, if I'm given e raised to power st to a LTI system whose impulse response is h of t, I am getting e to the power st into h of s, right? So now if I take, suppose in place of s, if I suppose taken e raised to power s1t, then the output will be e raised to power s1t into h of s1. Similarly, if I take an e raised to power s2t, it will be e raised to power s2t h of s2. And if I multiply this by a factor, suppose a1, output get multiplied by a1. If I multiply here a2, output get multiplied by a2. Why? Because it is a linear, and linear function is a homogeneous function. So if I multiply a constant, I get multiplied at the output same constant, right? Because it is a linear homogeneous function. Now, if I add all these, so what I will get ek e raised to power skt summation k equal to minus infinite to infinite, right? Then if I take this, what I will get? I will get as summation ak e to the power skt h of sk, where k is from minus infinite to plus infinite. Why this happens? Because it is a linear system. So if I add individual inputs, output get individually added here, and because this follows the superposition theorem. So it is a linear system, so it follows this property, right? Now, this is nothing but the Fourier series. This thing is nothing but the Fourier series. Fourier series is actually what? Fourier series says that if x of t is a signal which we can represent in exponential form, then that particular signal, that particular representation is known as the Fourier series, right? That is, we representing x of t in terms of exponential signal. So if we able to represent that thing into an exponential signal, then that is known as the Fourier series. Now, after getting the Fourier series, what is this here? This is h of s. H of s is known as Laplace transform of h of t. H of s is known as Laplace transform of h of t. Why it is called Laplace transform? Actually, it is given by the Laplace mathematician, and that's to honor him. We give it name as Laplace transform. And here from this equation, what we are getting? We are getting that if we are applying any signal which is in this form, we are getting the same signal at the output multiplied by a constant h of s. H of s is nothing but a constant. If I substitute the value of s equal to s1, it is nothing but a constant, right? It is in general depending on s, but if I substitute the values of s, because I will apply, suppose for example, e raised to power 2t. So what I will get? E raised to power 2t into h of 2. And what is h of 2? H of 2 is h of s at s equal to 2. So this is nothing but a constant, right? So whenever this happens, that in LTI system, if we are applying a input and I am getting a same input at the output multiplied by a multiplicative constant, then that particular signal is known as eigenvalue, eigenvector of LTI system. So eigenvector is of the LTI system is nothing but the exponential signal, because exponential signal, once we are given, the output will be exponential signal multiplied by some constant, right? And this constant h of s, how it is, what it is, h of s1 is the eigenvalue, h of s2 is the eigenvalue for s1 and s2 respectively, right? So these are the eigenvalue and the meaning of eigenvector. So eigenvector in general, how we can define eigenvector as the vector or the input which we give to the LTI system, and output will be nothing but the same input multiplied by a constant, right? So that is about the eigenvalue and eigenvector. Now we come back to here. This is known as the Fourier series, and it is giving the output as another Fourier series, but here it is in using the Laplace transform h of s here, right? Now here, this is the another method. This is the another method to calculate output. One method was, first method was, what was our first method to calculate the output of a LTI system? It is nothing but convolution.
Convolution.
Right? That is the first method. Second method, we today learned that if we can express the x of t in Fourier series form, then output is nothing but the same Fourier series multiplied by its eigenvalue, over here, right? So that we can think of to calculate the output. That is, if we can express the input in Fourier series form, we can write the output directly without calculating the convolution, right? But for this, we require to calculate this h of s, right? So that is the origin of the Laplace transform. So h of s, the Laplace transform, is given by minus infinite to infinite h of t e to the power minus st dt. And you don't have to worry too much. Here I have written h of tau e to the power minus s tau d tau, but I am here writing h of t e to the power minus st dt. And lot of time we have discussed this thing, that integral doesn't depend upon the variable of the integration, right? So that is the definition of any general signal h of t in terms of the Laplace transform h of s. Similarly, we can define for a general signal, this is particularly h of t is the impulse response. So h of s is known as system function or transfer function. This is given a particular name because we are calculating the Laplace transform of impulse response. This is the impulse response. So if we have taken the Laplace of the impulse response, then it is known as system function or the transfer function. These terminology should be very clear to you, right? In place, if we have a general signal x of t, to find out the Laplace transform, we just multiply this by e to the power minus st, calculate from minus infinite to infinite and dt. This is the way to calculate the value of the Laplace transform of any general signal x of t. So once we have written this, we can find out the for any general signal x of s, right? Also, there is an inverse Laplace transform is also available, that is given by x of t equal to 1 over 2 pi j integral x of s e to the power st ds, and this is the closed integral here. And because of this closed integral and 1 over 2 pi j, we not use this equation to calculate the inverse Laplace transform. Rather, there are different methods we will discuss in the class how to calculate the inverse Laplace transform, right? But nevertheless, the equation is like this for the inverse Laplace transform, right? So we can say if I have x, find out the x of s, or if I have x of s, I can find out the x of t. And that is the difference here lie between the system equation, that is the system equation. How we write? We write like this with a single arrow. This is the input, this is the output, and this is the system representation. But here we have written the double-sided arrow, and then we call xt and xs as Laplace transform pairs, right? So that is the meaning here. And sometimes we write here LT also, although it is very clear when we have used this s variable, it is a Laplace transform variable, right? Now, you may feel why we are learning Laplace transform and jet transform, although we have gone through the Laplace transform in the mathematics. Have you gone through Laplace transform in mathematics?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But you will entirely feel that this Laplace is more complete transform we will learn as compared to the mathematician teach us, right? We will see here, right? Before that, let us see what is the origin of the jet transform. So origin of jet transform will be similar if I have a LTI system, discrete time system, and its impulse response is given by h of n if I apply the input x of n equal to z to the power n, where z is a complex number, then output is calculated by the convolution sum, and convolution sum can be written as x of n minus k h of k vary from minus infinite to plus infinite. That is the definition as far as concerned. So we have just substituted, we will substitute this value here of x of n equal to z to the power n. So it will be z to the power n minus k h of k vary from minus infinite to infinite. So what we will get here, it is again independent, z to the power n is an independent term as far as this k is concerned. So we will take this outside, z to the power n here, and then summation k equal to minus infinite to infinite h of k z to the power minus k. And if similarly, this summation does not depend upon the k variable, because after putting the values of k equal to minus infinite to infinite here, that is after taking the sum here, only the z variable will be there. So we can write this as z to the power n and h of z. So what we are having a z to the power n, and we are getting the same input multiplied by again a h of z, which is constant for particular value of z. For example, if I have z1 raised to power n, then I will have z1 raised to power n into h of z1. Now remember, always we put the z with this letter, with slash on the middle part. Why? Because actually sometimes student write 2 here and sometimes 2 here, like that. So to distinguish 2 and z, we always write z as this. Right? I will use this z. Right? Whenever I have written z, I will use this z. Right? So that is the way we distinguish between z and 2. So we come back to this. Again, this will be the eigenvalue, eigenvector of the discrete time system, LTI system, right? And this is the h of z1 is the eigenvalue corresponding to z1, right? Eigenvalue of this function. So eigenvector is nothing but that system input which will provide us the output same as the input multiplied by some constant. Right? So that is about the z to the power n, right? And from this we get the definition of the z transform. H of z is given by summation k equal to minus infinite to infinite h of k z to the power minus k. Right? Now we come back to this again. We can also here take the Fourier series also, right? That is z1 raised to power n, z2 raised to power n, z3 raised to power n, so on. And also we can multiply this by a1, a2, and so on, so that it will be in the form of Fourier series. That is the discrete time Fourier series, right? So that is the evaluation of the Fourier series, the Laplace transform and the Z transform, right? That is the origin as far as concerned, right? Now we again come back to our main concern, that how to calculate the Laplace transform and what is the theory behind the Laplace transform and Z transform. So suppose first of all we consider the Z transform. H of Z is given by k equal to minus infinite to infinite h of n z to the power n minus n. Again, I change here from this k variable, I change here n, and you know variable why we have done this, right? Because it is a transform of the h of n, and this is the impulse response. So h of z is known as system function or the transfer function. Right? Now, as far as this equation is concerned, now we do two problems to understand in better way what to do in h of z and what to do in the h of s, right? So to take this, I'm taking x of n equal to a to the power n un. This is first example we are taking. And the second example which we will take as, this is suppose x1n and x2n, I'm taking it as minus a to the power n u of minus n minus 1. Right? Now I have to find out the h, sorry, it will be x1z. Now remember always, we use small case letter for time domain variable and capital letter for the frequency domain variable, right? These L and Laplace transform and Z transform are nothing but the frequency domain representation of the time domain signal. And why we require the frequency domain representation? Can anybody say why we require frequency domain representation? If we have a time domain representation, why we require to go for the frequency domain representation? No one? Actually, what happened, if a signal is there, it's if we want to transfer it from one point to the another point, then we concern about the modulation, and in the modulation, the frequency variable is of great concern. If the frequency is less, we cannot transfer it in a larger distance, because actually E equal to h nu and E equal to h nu, and nu is the frequency. If frequency is less, energy is less. If energy is less, it cannot go to a larger distance. So to send it in a larger distance, we have to increase its energy. To increase its energy, we require to increase its frequency. So until and unless if I know what is the frequency of the signal, I cannot increase or decrease the frequency of the signal. And that is the main concern why we know the spectrum of the signal. And a spectrum is nothing but the graph of the amplitude versus the frequency, right? So that is the about why we go for the Laplace and Z transform. That is why we go for the frequency domain representation, right? Now x1z will be defined as x1n z to the power minus n, n equal to minus infinite to infinite, right? Now we substitute this value over here. A to the power n un z to the power minus n. Now what is a to the power n un signal? If I draw this signal, how do I get? Because of this un, it is 0 altogether in the negative side. And in positive side, it is 1. And 1 is multiplied with a to the power n. And a, suppose, for example, it is greater than 1, right? Although it is always required to have a as less than 1. So if a is less than 1, if I take the power as positive, for example, if I take 1 by 2, 1 by 2 the power 1 will be 1, 0 will be 1 here. And if I take 1 by 2 the power 1, it will be 1 by 2 here. And if I take more, it will be decreasing in this form. So it is an exponential signal in discrete time. In discrete time, it is known as the exponential signal. It is decreasing with respect to the variable n, right? So that is my a to the power n un if a is less than 1. If a is greater than 1, it will be a growing exponential in this form, right? This is for a greater than 1 and this is for a less than 1, right? Now, here, how do I calculate this summation? Because of this un, the lower limit changes to 0 to infinite, and I can combine these two because the power is same, and here I can combine like this, right? Now, how do I calculate this? And point is this, can I calculate for all values of AZ inverse, can I calculate this summation? Suppose for example, AZ inverse equal to 2. Suppose for example, AZ inverse equal to 2. then in that case, this will be 2 to the power n, and summation is over n equal to 0 to infinite. So what I will get? 2 to the power 0 plus 2 to the power 1 plus 2 to the power 2 up to 2 to the power infinite. And everybody know what is the summation of this. This summation leads to infinite, right? So I cannot always find the solution of this. There are some region, that is, there are some values of Z which will decide whether this summation exists or not, right? That is, there is a region of Z on which this summation will converge, right? So where it will converge? It will converge whenever the mod value of AZ inverse is less than 1. If it is greater than 1, this value, if it is greater than 1, still if it's suppose, for example, 1.1, 1.1 raised to power n is there, we still will get infinitive value. But if it is less than 1, for example, if it is suppose 1 by 2 to the power n, then it will decreasing. 1 by 2 plus 1 by 4, 1 is also there, 1 by 4 plus 1 by 8 and so on. Then 1 by infinity will be there, and 1 by infinity is 0 value, and this sum will converge. Converge means this sum will be finite. So there are point, that is the region of Z plane. This is my Z plane, and in Z plane we always show the Z value by two variable. One is R, another is this angle. This angle I show by a letter ohm. Ohm is the angle by this vector taken, right? So Z I always write in this form, R e raised to power j ohm. R is the radius vector which cannot be zero, negative, it cannot be negative, it can be equal to 0, but it is always greater than equal to 0. And ohm is the angle which will always take positive when we go from this side, that is anti-clockwise x direction. Whenever we will go in this direction, then ohm will be positive, otherwise it is negative. So that is about the Z plane, and there will be a region of the Z plane on which this summation exists. Now where does this exist? It will exist for only AZ inverse less than 1 value, right? Now from this, what will be the value of Z? The value of Z will be greater than mod of A, right? Can you find out this? AZ inverse is less than 1, then mod of Z will be greater than mod of A. Is this clear, or I have to explain it? Anybody? Is this clear? AZ inverse is less than 1, then mod of Z is greater than mod of A. Anyone have any difficulty? If it is not, we move further. That is, here, if it is so, if mod Z is greater than mod of A, then we can calculate this summation, right? I think, am I clear with this? Why we are going to find out this?
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, it will be infinitive value will come. If this not follows, then infinitive value will come, right? So in that case, this n equal to 0 to infinite AZ inverse raised to power n, this, if it is converging, if it is following this, then what will be the solution of this? Solution, this is nothing but a GP series. If you see carefully, this will be nothing but a GP series. If you see this 2 raised to power 0, 2 raised to power 1, 2 to the power 2, it is nothing but a GP series. And infinite GP series formula is A over 1 minus R. R is the common ratio, right? So I'm writing directly, A is the first term is n equal to 0, we substitute, so we will get 1 divided by 1 minus R is the second term divided by the first term. Second term will be AZ inverse raised to power 1 divided by the first term is 1. So ratio is AZ inverse. So this is I got for x1z equal to 1 over 1 minus A Z inverse with the condition that mod of Z greater than mod of A. Right? Now we consider the second case, that is minus A to the power n u of minus n minus 1. First of all, what is this type of signal is? Here time shifting is also there, scaling is also there. Scaling is not there, only time folding is there because it is multiplied with 1, so scaling is not there, right? So first I will always find u of n minus 1. So u of n minus 1 will be nothing but start from 1 and it will go to infinite, and it is 1 here, and here it is 0. This is u of n minus 1. Right? U of minus n minus 1 will be what? It will be just folding of this, and folding of this means 1 will come at minus 1, and altogether here it is 1 and here it is 0. This is u of minus n minus 1. And if I put minus a to the power n, then what it will be? It will be here n value is decreasing in this side. So if I write a to the power minus n, means minus 1, minus 2, a to the power minus 3, and so on, what will be the value I will get? I will get a value like this. Because of this minus, the magnitudes are negative and they will increase or decrease. It will be a to the power minus 1, right? Then a to the power minus 2, and so on. Now it will depend upon the value of a, whether a is greater than 1 or less than 1. If it is a is greater than 1, then this value, if a is greater than 1, then this value will be 1 over a to the power 2, and a to the power 2 is greater than a to the power 1, but a to the power minus 2 will be less than a to the power minus 1. So it will decrease like this. Right? It will decrease as this, but we are taking in negative direction because of this minus. Right? And here it is 0. So that is my signal, minus a to the power n u of minus n minus 1. Now after this, finding that where it will be positive and where it will be negative, x2n will be, we have shown here. Now we calculate the x2z. x2z is nothing but summation. Now you can see here the limits will be from minus infinite to this point, that is minus 1, and here it is minus a to the power n, and u of minus n minus 1, we have taken this effect over here because u of minus n minus 1 decide this limits, right? Then here it will be z to the power minus n, right? So now x2z will comes as summation. Now here, because these limits are negative, what I will do, I will write in place of n, I will write minus n, so that the limits will get positive. So it will be 1 to infinite, and it is immaterial to write the lower limit as upper limit and upper limit as lower limit, because it will not change. Because if I take 1 plus 2 plus 3, or if I take 3 plus 2 plus 1, right, result will be same, right? So I can interchange this limit without changing the sign. In integral, we have to change the sign. If I changing the lower limit and upper limit, right, then I have to use a minus sign. But in the summation, I can interchange the lower limit and upper limit, right? Now here it will be a inverse z to the power n. It will be minus n, a to the power minus n, and z to the power plus n. If I change n by minus n, it will be a to the power minus 1 into z. Then it will be x2z will be equal to this, and there will be a 1 minus sign. So I am taking this minus sign outside. So this minus sign will come here, right? Now again, this will be having finite value only when a inverse z mod of this is less than 1. Why I'm talking about mod? Because z is a complex variable. I have to find out the magnitude of it to find out whether it is less than 1 or greater than 1. Because the complex part does not require any convergence issue. Complex part does not require any convergence issue, right? Here, the convergence issue lie only on the magnitude part, right? Because if there is a e to the power j ohm, right, I can write this as cos of ohm plus j sine of ohm, right? Now, for any value of ohm, this value will be always between -1 to 1, because cos of ohm and sine of ohm always lie between them. That's why even if it is written e raised to power j ohm n here, cos ohm n plus j sine ohm n, whatever is the value of n and ohm, this value always lie between -1 and 1. And that's why there is no convergence issue as far as the imaginary part is concerned. So we concentrate more on the magnitude part. So magnitude should be less than 1. If the magnitude is less than 1, then this will exist, this summation will exist, otherwise it will not exist. Again, you can put A inverse z is equal to 2 and 2 to the power n and n equal to 1 to infinity. We have just seen this value will be infinite if this value is greater than 1. So if I get this value less than 1, only then that case, this will result in a finite value. Otherwise, the infinite value will come, right? Now we calculate again this value. If this is satisfied, then only we can calculate the value. And in that case, this value will be nothing but n equal to 1 we substitute. So A inverse Z, this is again a GP series, an infinite GP series. First term is n equal to 1 we substitute, and 1 minus, and what is this? Common ratio. Common ratio will be nothing but A inverse Z, because we have to put A inverse Z. Second term will be A inverse Z to the power 2 divided by first term is A inverse Z. That is the common ratio R. And so we have the same thing, A inverse Z. And here there is a minus sign here, right? Now I'm doing a little bit mathematics here. I'm dividing with numerator and denominator by minus A inverse Z term. If I do this, the upper term will be 1 only, and the lower term, if I divide with minus A inverse Z, this term will become 1, and this term will become minus AZ inverse. And you will get surprised that in both signals, we are getting the same expression of the Z transform, right? We are getting the same Z transform of entirely two different signals. Here you can see this signal is a right-sided signal. In the right, it is existing. Here, this is the signal which is left-sided signal, which exists in the left only. But for both cases, we are getting the same expression of the Z transform. But what is the difference? Difference lies on this condition. Here the condition is mod of Z greater than mod of A. And if you solve this, here it will come as mod of Z less than mod of A. Right? Mod of Z less than mod of A from this A inverse Z less than 1. Right? So here this part is very, very important as far as the Z transform is concerned, right? So what is this part? So we are getting 1 over 1 minus AZ inverse as the transform of A to the power n un with the condition as mod of Z greater than mod of A. Now remember these formula, because now onwards these will become formula for our further calculation. These two formulas should be very carefully mugged out. 1 over 1 minus AZ inverse with mod of Z less than mod of A. Now what is this? Mod of Z less than mod of A and mod of Z greater than mod of A. There is a Z plane here and there is a radius here, mod of A. Right? We draw a circle And we say if it is mod of z greater than mod of a, this will be the region of the z plane on which this x of z exists, or this x of n will have a convergence, and then we can find out the z transform, right? Elsewhere we cannot find out. Inside of this we cannot find out for this particular case, for the first case. And in second case, the region on which it will define is inside, that is mod of z less than mod of a. This is my radius mod of a, and it is inside of this where the z transform will define for this. Elsewhere it is not defined, right? Now here we coin a term that is known as region of convergence, and in short engineer says always ROC. ROC, that is the region of convergence in the z plane, are those values of z for which x of z exists or x of n has a convergence. Otherwise, at other point other than the ROC, the x of z is not exist. Now you can see the importance of ROC, because two different, entirely different signal have same expression, but the ROC is different. Is this clear? This example is clear. Now we go to the same thing with the Laplace transform to understand the ROC concept. Suppose we take x of t equal to e to the power at ut. Right? This is the first we will take, and second will be x of t equal to e to the power minus at u of minus t. Right? Now suppose first here, x of s is defined as integral x of t e to the power minus st, and from minus infinite to plus infinite. Right? Minus infinite to plus infinite, xt e to the power minus st dt. So where from this this line, ut is the value which exists from 0 to infinite. So the lower limit changes to 0 to infinite, and this will be e to the power at, sorry, e to the power at e to the power minus st dt. Right? This we have written. Now this will be equal to integral 0 to infinite e to the power minus, we have taken common, and s minus a t d. Now, can I calculate for all values of s, can I calculate this value? Suppose, for example, s minus a is in negative value. Suppose this is less than 0. If it is less than 0, there will be negative here. So this negative and this negative will bring us positive here, right? So it will be e to the power a positive value. For example, e to the power 4t. If I calculate from 0 to infinite, this value will be infinite. Can you see this? E to the power 4t dt integral 0 to infinite will be infinite. Why this is infinite? Because you can see if I plot this e to the power 4t signal, it will be a growing exponential, and growing exponential will have an area infinite, right? So this area will be infinite. So this integral we cannot calculate. There is no existence of this integral. So what is the condition? Condition will be real part of s minus a should be less than 0. Now again, I consider only real part. I am not consider the imaginary part, by the same reasoning that it will be nothing but a cos and sine function, and cos and sine function never never be infinitive. It will be between -1 to 1 only, right? So that's why we consider the real part of s minus a less than 0. So real part of s minus a less than 0, how it will be now? it will be real part of s less than real part of a, right? So this will be the, now the region of S plane. Now here it will be in place of Z plane, we have now S plane, and S plane we have a sigma axis, we have a j omega axis, and we say if real part of a, real part, why? Because a can be also a complex. Here this e to the power at, a can be also complex. So this a I'm taking as real. For example, suppose a equal to 2. So a equal to 2, we draw a line over here, and real part of s less than this means this region is the ROC for the this case. Right? Now in this case, s minus a should be less than 0 or greater than 0 for convergence of this. It should be greater than 0. So this condition should be greater than 0. Here it should be greater than 0, because if it is positive, s minus a real part is positive, then we have e to the power minus value, and e to the power minus 40 if I calculate, it will give us a value as finite. Right? So there should be a condition that s minus a should be positive value. So if it is positive value, the region of convergence will be this, not this. Right? For this signal, the region of convergence will be right of a real part of A, real of S greater than real of A. So now, if this follows real part of S greater than real part of A, then from this, we can calculate this integral as e to the power minus s minus a into t over minus s minus a with respect to t variable, and we substitute the value as 0 to infinite. Now if I substitute here, because s minus a is positive, minus t and t equal to infinite will give us minus infinite. Now you can see here why we have chosen s minus a as positive. If s minus a is negative, we will have e to the power plus infinite, and e to the power plus infinite is infinite. Then minus this e to the power 0 divided by minus s minus a. So what we get here? Here we get as 1 over s minus a, because this will be 0, e to the power minus infinite is 0, minus 1 over minus. So this will give us 1 over s minus a for this case. X of s is 1 over s minus. Now we come back to this part. Raj, meantime you can take the chat attendance, right? X of s is equal to, here it will be e to the power minus at. Now because of this u of minus t, now the lower limit will be as it is minus infinitive, upper limit will be 0. E to the power minus at, and then e to the power minus st dt. This is by definition. So it will comes as e to the power. Now in place again, because this integral limits is minus infinite to 0, I substitute a value t as minus t. If I substitute this value, integral will be from infinite to 0, and this will be e to the power at e to the power plus st. In place of dt, it will be minus dt. So it will be, again this minus, I can choose as this integral limit, I interchange 0 to infinite, and here it will be a plus s into t, and this will be dt. Right? Now again, the problem comes if a plus s is positive. If a plus s is positive, then there will be a problem comes. Right? Now I'm changing this minus a to plus a, e to the power plus at. So it will become plus a here, it will become minus a here, and here it will be s minus a. For some purpose I have changed this. So e to the power s minus a into t dt. Now again, if s minus a is greater than 0, then there will be a problem of non-convergence of this integral. That is, e to the power this, the integral of this will be what? It will be e to the power s minus a into t over s minus a. And if I substitute the values from 0 to infinite, what I will get? I will get it as e to the power minus s minus a infinite, and this will be infinitive only when s minus a is positive. If s minus a is negative, then e to the power minus infinity will come, and minus e to the power minus infinity will tends to 0. And then we can find out the result of this. Otherwise, we cannot define. So this is not the condition when it will be defining. The condition will be real part of s minus a should be less than 0. From this, real part of s should be less than real part of a. Then only we can have a convergence of this integral. So if I now find this integral will becomes give us, now again one more correction, one minus sign should be here. One minus sign should be here. So here minus sign. So when we find out this result, this will result in same as 1 over s minus a, which is coming same as here also. In this also we are getting the same result. Here also we are getting the same result. These two signals are entirely different signals. This is a right side signal. This is the left side signal, right? So, but the problem is that the solution is that real part of s is less than real part of a here, and here real part of s is greater than real part of a, right? So that is the importance of ROC, that if you know the ROC, then you can find out whether the given system is having a Laplace transform or Z transform or not, right? So now onwards, whether we have written x of s or whether we have written x of z, it will consist of two things. One is expression of x of s or x of z plus ROC. These two we have to write in combination. Otherwise, we will face difficulty. Suppose someone given you 1 over s minus a, and it says find out the inverse Laplace of this. Can I say it will be e to the power at ut, or can I say it is minus e to the power at u of minus t? I cannot say until and unless if I know this ROC. Now I had said in my initial conversation that in mathematics you have learned also the Laplace transform, but in Laplace transform mathematicians don't use this term ROC. Why they don't use this term? We will see in the next lecture why they not use this ROC function, right? So I am ending here. Okay, any problem to anyone? Until now, any problem to anyone? Should we close now?
So,
okay, thank you very much.
thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
अटेंडेंस सर
डेली हो गई.
अरे निशी मैम की क्लास कितने बजे है? 3 से 4. तो अभी को भेज दिया फिर इसने.
अबे 3 से 4
अटेंडेंस हो गई क्या?
प्रथम 3 से 4 ही लेंगे भाई.
ये तो अभी भेज देना लिंक तो, लेकिन टाइमिंग
अरे
नहीं
लिंक
लिखी.
रहने देना यार, इससे क्या होता है.
प्रथम,
हाँ
अटेंडेंस हो गई क्या?
हो गई, रिकॉर्डिंग चालू है.
हाँ, तो ये